everyone, I'm Lorraine Driscoll and welcome to another episode of Building Better Brains. So in my last video, I talked about one of the main reasons why your child might have a hard time with reading comprehension. And chances are, if your child struggles with learning or reading, it is a weak visual memory that has a key role in their difficulties. And this is because 80% of learning occurs through the visual system. And in fact, it has been found to even exceed auditory memory. So 3/4 of learning, both in and outside of the school, whether we're young or old, occurs through the visual system in the brain. So if this is kind of like, what are you talking about? I've never heard of the visual system. Let's set this in real time. So if you're anything like me, the idea of sitting through a conference is absolute torture, not only because you're being asked to sit for long periods of time, which is totally unnatural, and so many of our kids are being asked to sit for way too long in classrooms and desks, but you are also being expected to rely almost entirely on your auditory system. So now imagine if either your auditory or visual system is weak, and that's what many struggling children are dealing with and why learning is so freaking hard for them. So this is why developing visual memory is absolutely essential to improving both reading and learning ability. So what is visual memory and how does that impact reading, learning, and so forth? Visual memory is basically the ability to create a mental image of an object, a place, a form in your mind's eye. And recalling the appearance of an object, place, or image for later use should be automatic. You do it all the time when you read. So visual memory enables your child to see printed letters and words and to decode those visually. Reading requires your child to assemble words and phrases into a visual image, and once this occurs through the mind's eye, your child should be able to recognize words, create meaning, and reading comprehension should occur naturally. However, when children need to read aloud in order to better understand a text or story, that is a cue that they need to rely on their auditory memory because their visual memory is weak. So adults might do this as well, where they need to read out loud and they're just not readers, they don't enjoy reading to themselves. So skipping letters, poor spelling, not recalling a word they had just read on a previous page are also other possible indications. A child with a strong visual memory can recall a new word after only a few exposures. So while some children have an excellent long-term memory, if your child has a poor visual memory, they will be more likely to have difficulty with integrating information from their working memory into their long-term memory. So visual sequential memory, a big long word, which basically means it's an important part of the visual working memory system because it involves being able to recall items or objects in their correct sequence. So frequent spelling errors, remembering phone numbers, or any correct sequences are affected if there's a deficit. These are the kids where they can't tell you exactly what happened in the story in proper order. So other signs of a weak visual memory is correctly recognizing numbers or letters in the early years, poor reading comprehension and spelling, letter or number reversals. They may recall the name connected to a letter but not the correct direction, or they might not remember sight words from one page to the next. They may need to reread a sentence several times to comprehend the meaning. They may forget what they saw when they were copying from a board or somewhere else back onto their paper, or they have difficulty using even a calculator or keyboard because a weak visual memory makes it harder for them to remember where the correct keys are. So developing visual memory is key to improving reading comprehension and learning ability, and this can easily be done with some simple games and activities at home. This is not a permanent situation that's unfixable. So as mentioned in a previous episode, children and people in general have a less developed working memory today than ever before, even compared to our grandparents, because of our over-reliance on everything from smartphones and technology and all these interventions that no longer require us to rely on our working memory. So decreasing time on technology is always a good place to start, and it also helps to improve attention levels as well as memory abilities. So if you want to know more about activities you can do with your child to develop their visual memory, stay tuned for my next episode next week. In the meantime, hop onto my website to take my quiz to find out more about your child's struggles, what might be underneath all that, and what you can do to get started in helping them to build a better brain. Thanks for listening.